Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today it is Poetry Thursday, so I wanted to highlight some poetry of interest. And today's poem is a bit of an unusual one. It is all about tomatoes and wanting to be tomatoes or a tomato. I am referring to In My Next Life, Let Me Be a Tomato by Natasha Rao. For those who don't know, Natasha Rao is an American writer who lives in the New York area. They've been writing, they've been getting their work published pretty recently, within the past 5 or so years, it would seem. They've won a number of fellowships and awards, and again, they work as an educator in the New York region. I don't know too much else about them, based on what I can find on Wikipedia and the Poetry Foundation and their own website. Maybe we have to wait until they publish a little bit more to get some of those juicy bits of details and whatnot. But without further ado, let's talk about In My Next Life, Let Me Be a Tomato. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. In my next life, let me be a tomato. Lusting and unafraid, in this bipedal incarnation I have always been scared of my own ripening. Mother standing outside the fitting room door. I only become bright after Bloody Marys, only whole in New Jersey summers where beefsteaks like baubles sag in the yard, where we pass down heirlooms in thin paper envelopes, and I tend barefoot to a garden that snakes with desire, unashamed to coil and spread. Cherry falls, brandy wine, sweet aperitif. I kneel with a spool, staking and trying, checking each morning after last night's thunderstorm, only to find more sprawl. The tomatoes have no fear of wind and water. They gain power from the lightning, while I, in this version of life, retreat in bed to wither. In this life, rabbits are afraid of my clumsy gait. In the next, let them come willingly to nibble my lowest limbs, my outstretched arm always offering something sweet. I want to return from reincarnation spent covered in dirt and buds. I want to be unabashed, audacious, to gobble space, to blush deeper each day in the sun, knowing I'll end up in an eager mouth. An overly ripe tomato will begin spouting, so excited it is for more life, so intent to be a part of this world, trellising wildly. For every time in this life I have thought of dying, let me yield that much fruit in my next. Skeleton drooping under the weight of my own vivacity as I spread to take more of this air, this fence post, this forgiving light. In terms of analysis, that was In My Next Life, Let Me Be a Tomato. Again, there's a little bit we're talking about in this poem. Some things that might not be the best, but there's certainly some interesting things here we're talking about. In terms of narrative, this is merely the narrator talking about how they want to be a tomato. They're currently a clumsy and somewhat afraid human, timid and whatnot, and then the next life they want to be unapologetic and giving life to others, which is very revealing in that they feel that they're not that way in their current life. And so you see that desire to be different in the poem. You see in the next, let them come willingly to nibble my lowest limbs, my outstretched arm always offering something sweet. I want to return from reincarnation spit covered in dirt and buds. I want to be unabashed, audacious, to gobble space. And given that this is written by Natasha Rao, a woman, she might be told, in this patriarchal society that she's not allowed to occupy space, that she's meant to be invisible as a woman. And so this is maybe her trying to regain some of that control that she can't get as a woman. That's just a guess, but I feel like it's a fair assumption that a lot of women have sort of espoused in the poetry, but also just in general communication. And you also see this kind of desire early in the poem where it says, lusting and unafraid, in this bipedal incarnation I have always been scared of my own ripening. And you see a little bit there more of aspect of being a woman, of maturing into an adult, where she says, mother standing outside of the fitting room, and referring to her maturity as ripening. And so, again, that's another aspect of the patriarchy of sexism in society, making young girls feel less than for turning into women because either you're not a real woman, or there's this fear of being exploited once you do become a woman. I feel like that's all hiding behind the scenes of the poem, not really spoken, but if you follow the path a lot far enough, you eventually reach that point. I will say the line, for every time in this life I have thought of dying, let me yield that much fruit in my next, is a pretty groovy line. I particularly like it, but it does lead me to think that the narrator in this poem is scared and timid in their life, so their response to not living life as fully as they want is to become a vegetable. That doesn't entirely hold up. I get their reasons for wanting to become that vegetable, but we typically think of vegetables as boring and stationary, not a lot to them. So to want to become a vegetable, it doesn't seem like you're addressing the problem. It seems like you're running away from the problem. You could just wish to become a more sturdy person, learn to, get out more and stand up for yourself and seek opportunities to live life more. I feel like, wanting to become a tomato, wanting to become a vegetable kind of doesn't allow you to do what you're hoping to do. And also, the idea of being nibbled on by rabbits sounds terrifying. You're getting your piece by piece ripped away, and then you're becoming non-existent, which is a little bit horrifying to think about. So I do like this poem, but those ideas, those thoughts are kind of, not exactly getting at what I think the narrator, what Natasha wants to get at there. Anyway, those are my thoughts on In My Next Life, Let Me Be a Tomato, by Natasha Rao. A pretty solid poem, although I do have a couple problems with it. I don't think it necessarily prevents it from being a well-written and interesting poem. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you think that aspiring to be a vegetable is, not addressing the problem, or do you think it's actually pretty good? I would love to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this poem or this poet if they don't already know. And also join the Discord if you want to have further conversations about becoming fruits and vegetables, or just talking about this type of poetry or other forms of media. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and tomatoey travels. Farewell.